Hey everybody, it's Mike and Mike, your two favorite Incredi hosts here. Me, the Incredi King, and the Incredigross. Once again, bringing you more part two, the sequel of Incredi Week, as we've been doing already this week. So thanks everybody for tuning in last night and the last couple of nights. We got more stuff we'll talk about at the end of this broadcast. But tonight we have a really cool treat. We have an artist, puppeteer. He's just amazing and all this stuff. You may have seen some of his stuff online. We have tonight with us, joining us, Dave Alverez. So we're gonna bring Dave right in here. And Dave, you are hello.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I was just looking at the sky and all that.
So, Dave, tell us, for people who may not know your works, what are some of the things that you have worked on that you're best known for?
Well, I've done a lot of stuff. I work on the Looney Tunes cartoons. I work on the Tom and Jerry movies, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, obviously the Looney Tunes comics too, and mostly on my own comic strip called Yanny. I don't know if you have seen it before.
I have seen it. I like the artwork on there. And Noel McNeil says hi, guys. So hello, Noel, our good friend Noel McNeil.
Why, hello, Noel. Oh, Noel. Okay.
Looney Tune cartoons, the Looney Tune comic books. Now are you part of the new Looney Tune? I believe you're working on the new stuff that's on HBO Max now too. Did you work on a few of those?
Yeah, I did some stuff there. Yeah.
All right. What any particular ones people should be looking out for of yours on that one that you recommend?
Actually, I don't know, because we were handed a lot of art that we have to, in my case, I have to accent the comedy on most of them. So, sometimes I got just a little scene, where Elmer just needed to be poked in the eyes or something like that, or we needed to accent some other action. So I got a lot of stuff. So it's a little bit difficult to see where everything it is. Sometimes I'm watching a cartoons and I'm like, oh, I did that. So I'm everywhere there.
Got you. So tell us a little bit. How did you? Because you're not in the United States. Tell us where you are.
Well, right now I'm in Puerto Rico.
So much different climate than. I mean, it's getting hot here, but you're in a much different climate. So how did you get involved in this? What is it like being an artist working in Puerto Rico and a lot of this stuff? Like, for instance, the Looney Tunes things.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, actually, it's weird because it's one of those things that I always dream of doing, but I never expected I would be actually doing. And I've been blessed in that way because I started off, very basic. I once saw these comic books that they were doing on a local Walgreens, and I was wondering if they were accepting, artists to work at them. So I saw this little address on the bottom that, if you have some vision guidelines, you can send it here. Oh, so I wrote. They wrote back. Everything was very organic. Mm-hmm. And I sent my portfolio that was like this. And and I waited. I think I waited along a year or something like that. And then I got a call from California. I think at 8 something in the night. Mm-hmm. I thought it was my uncle. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, Warner Brothers, of course. And then when I started listening more, I was like, oh, they're actually calling me. So I tried. And the first thing that I did was an Animaniacs comic. That was my first job. And after that, they asked me, we love your work. What title do you want to work on? By that time, they had Scooby-Doo, they have Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, mm-hmm. and Looney Tunes. And then I pondered, I need a job, an actual job. And Animaniacs and Pinky Brain are from Steven Spielberg. So if he gets angry and goes away, I will I'll stay without a job. So I'll pick up the Looney Tunes. So the rest is history. I started off in comics, and then out of the blue, I got a call from animation because they needed help on the storyboards. Mm-hmm. They asked me, do you do storyboards? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, of course. And yeah, and then that's the first thing that I did, and eventually I did a lot more stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean definitely like with Looney Tunes, like you have such a great style with the way that you draw those characters.
Thank you.
And I mean, and certainly we've seen your artwork elsewhere. Like I know you've done a bunch of things for like the Tough Pigs website, you know. So you've done some of the Muppet characters and stuff. But I mean, your mainstream is with Looney Tunes. With your own style, do you look at any of the past artists, like the Chuck Jones, for his feelings, any of them? Like who do you get your inspiration for your take on those classic characters from?
Mostly from Chuck Jones and Clampett.
Okay.
I had let's say the blessing of when we started up the comics, I could choose the style that I wanted to work on. You cannot do that now. But by that time, we could. Dana Curtin, who was the editor by that time, we sat up and we read the story, and I was like, okay, this story is more Chuck Jones, so let's go using that style. Oh, this one is very crazy. Let's go Bob Clampett with this one. So those two styles have been always part of my my life as an artist.
So who do, like you've drawn in those styles. Like, is there a particular, and just talking Looney Tunes now, is there a particular one of them, or is there even a particular cartoon that you look to and you are like, wow, this to me captures the essence of these particular characters of Bugs, for instance? Have you drawn a Bug? Like, this is Bugs' gold story, and you know, this is where I draw my inspiration for Bugs from. Is there a particular one that you have as a favorite?
Yeah, my favorite is Rabbit Fire Rabbit from Chuck Jones. I think that's the one that actually settled the Chuck Jones styles and perhaps what Bugs Bunny is from there on. So that's one of my favorites. And Clampett has other cartoons, like the ones I'm trying to remember the name, and I was talking about that cartoon particularly the other day. It's where Elmer has a nightmare and Bugs Bunny gets into it. And then everything goes crazy. I think that's one of the best cartoons that I ever seen of Clampett. But those are the best that I have reference that I use.
Yeah, because I mean, certainly, and I mean, you've been working on these new ones that they've just premiered for HBO Max that they've been working on for quite a few years now too, from what I understand. Like, this is
yeah. I think it's been like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Or perhaps. It's been a while.
And certainly, like, they're going back to that more traditional storytelling, if you will, the traditional comedy format of the classic Looney Tunes. I mean, there's been many iterations over the years of them, but I think where they're going now really brings it back to the heart of what those characters really are at this point.
That's true. That's true. So there's a lot of wonderful artists working on those shorts, and there's a lot of talent, and then I'm humbled by all those people. I'm like, why am I here? But but working with Dean Silver or all these guys, you're like, wow, man, I hope I'm that good someday.
I mean, definitely. You, like I said, your style is just very like I look at that and I'm like this. And even in like the still, that's what I'm saying, in the still pictures, the way that you draw it, like the comic strips, the way that you draw them, they are alive. Like they are coming off of the screen. Like, you see, and this goes for any kind of licensed character.
Oh, thank you.
There's artwork that is I don't want to say flat, but then the way that somebody may draw a character, but then like there's a way that the characters just like pop off the page, even though they're not physically moving. Like the style, and I mean, like, we can talk about what you do with Yenny as well. Like that style, it's very fluid. Like like there's movement to those characters, and I think that's really one of the appeals of your artwork. In there.
I appreciate that you see it that way.
Yeah.
Because I try to make everything like it moves, so you have the movement feeling. And I don't like to make static stuff, because every time you say, oh, draw Garfield, and everybody's like, or you see it like,
yeah.
So I want to go beyond that, and maybe the other day I made a drawing of him kicking off Odie, and because I like to see things in action. Just, I think it's me. I can say still.
Yeah. I'm just gonna look and see if I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up some of your artwork right now too.
I was just looking for some to pull up.
Oh, good.
Well, I just typed in your name and like comic or cartoon, so I have a page of just on Google Images. So if you want, I can share that and pull it up.
Oh, sure. You want to share it up? Pull it.
Let's see if I can do it here. Oh, hold on 1 second. It's starting to rain. I'm getting water
Right.
coming.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So hold on. Let me
Go ahead.
here. The wind
Rozzie's getting a little bit of a shower here.
wind opened my studio door. Hold on. But I shared it. Let me add it to.
You put it
Right.
Oh, beautiful. I didn't even realize you could do that. Oh, Grazi is our tech guy. I'll wait for him to come back. But anyways, let's talk as we're getting into it. Let's talk a little bit about Yenny. I like Yenny. I think I've messaged you, like, it's a comic strip that you're doing. What's the evolution of that character, and where are you going with that character?
Oh, well, that started off as a little comic strip that I used to make for a local newspaper in Puerto Rico. It was called Sache and Angeline.
Mm-hmm.
Sache's still there. This lizard that bugs her a lot. And Angeline was this girl that lives on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
My parents used to stay in a place that was called Villa La Mela in Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico. And it was this villa with all these wooden houses at the beach side. It was very curious because they looked very cartoony, and somehow that became like the place where I wanted to create my adventures of Yenny. Eventually, Angeline became Yenny because Angeline was too long of a name, and I started publishing them online. And Universal Press had a tryout page that was called Comics Sherpa. And
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I made the first comics over there, and those comics, they told us they were gonna pick up like 10 or 12 of those comics for formal syndication.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing everything for fun, so I wasn't expecting anything. And one day I got an email from them, and they said, "Oh, we're gonna syndicate Yenny."
Wow!
Really? Oh, that's good. So then migrate over to the Go Comics page, and eventually everybody started looking at the comics and stuff like that. Right now I publish her on my own because I stopped publishing her. I think it was in 2012 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why people. It's a good feeling because it's a character that people started off creating their own adventures. You started searching online, and everybody has a different, Yenny in this, and Yenny on Jamaica, and Jenny, and I was like, who the heck drew that? And so I decided to make a comeback, and I think the time was right. And right now I'm publishing the comics again, so it works, and that's good.
Yeah. Grazi, were you able to pull that up?
Well, it's ready for you to share. You have to share it. I have.
Oh. Have you pulled up Yenny, or?
Well, I just typed in the art, but I can click on anything.
Click on a Yenny. Let's do that first one.
The first one, which I was really like. Oh, so it takes me to, I guess, your website here, or this is something else.
No, I think it's someone else's website, but. By the way, I've never seen it. That's cool.
Yeah, you know what? This kind of reminds me a little of like, who was it? Like Ralph Bashki's Cool World type of style.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Oh, thank you.
It's really nice.
That was another thing. When I started up working on comic strips, I was wondering why every design was so simple. I mean, simple lines or just very roundish. And I was, I was very inspired by Glenn Keane and all this Disney art and stuff like that. And I was like, why doesn't anybody's doing that? I'm going to do that. So I started off doing that, and eventually that hit me in the face because doing that every day is killing. So now I wonder what it's doing, circles and stuff.
Yeah.
But the style was already established, so there was no turning back. So, but yeah, that's mainly the thing.
Anything else you want me to pull up that we can look at?
Let's look at some of that Looney Tunes stuff.
Looney Tunes, where like here?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll pull this one up here. This is off your Twitter, I guess, or.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I want to.
I was curious because I made that one way before the new Looney Tunes cartoons aired. So I was toying with some designs. Eventually, that's the kind of style that they chose.
Well, yeah, because that's definitely like they're going back from. I don't want to use that word vintage of Looney Tunes, but they're going back for more of that original look of that, and especially like looking at Daffy in there. And again, like I was saying, the movement in your artwork, like that's it's not a moving picture, but like you see Daffy's beak moving, you see Bugs picking up Porky, and like there's so much movement in there. So I mean, with them going in that style, absolutely, you are the go-to guy, even when you're drawing them in like more modern style. Like they have that movement. Like there's this one, and I wish I could find it again, of Yenny, where she's blow drying her hair, and like and I'm sure she's blown dry her hair in many of your strips, but just that one effect that you have there is just the way, just the life that comes from your artwork, which is good.
The one where she's blowing her hair and the hair goes poof at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and this is for some of the artists that are watching us. We have a couple of folks, like Ronaldo's with us tonight. Victor Romero. I'm surprised our buddy Joe Ryan's not here yet tonight.
I'm sure he'll show up. He's always here, and we love him for that.
But and even for the folks that will watch this later on. So what was your education, your art schooling, like? Were you just started doing this on your own, like watching Looney Tunes cartoons? Because that's what seems to be with a lot of the folks that we've talked to, is like they watched like these cartoons, drew from there, and then kind of just flew with it. Where's your...
Yeah, that's basically the school for everybody. Everybody that's working who's working on this, they will never tell you, oh, I learned this on this school or learned this on this college. No, we're just watching cartoons and playing. Yeah. So that was basically how I did it too. On that and a lot of VHS. So I used to stop, everything on every little frame. And I was, let's try this one. Let's do that one. And that's how I kind of make my own stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how I learned. I used to pause something on the TV, try to draw it. And when I was learning animation, like as a little kid, I used to try to play it in slow motion on the VCR to see if I could figure out how they did it before I got my animation books. So I think that's great. I mean, a lot of people, you want to learn, you experiment, you watch, and you study. Yeah. I actually wanted to ask you a quick question. When you were talking about Chuck Jones, he's one of my favorites of the Looney Tune directors, and just in general, I'm a huge fan of his art. I had this book, which I never finished. I need to read it. And I wanted to know if you ever checked it out, but The Dream That Never Was.
Oh, yeah. I don't have it, but I have seen it around. So
it's an interesting book because he wanted to do a comic strip, and no matter what he did, he couldn't get it published.
Yeah.
So it was. I'm like, but that's what I'm saying. He's Chuck Jones, and even that shows how hard it is to get syndicated. Especially back then. I think he started this, and this was based on childhood experiences. It was, I think, loosely based on oh God, what was that cat? Ralph in the Looney Tunes. Ralph would be imagined. It was kind of like based on that stuff, and I'm like, that would have been a really cool comic to have.
Yeah, so. I've seen that comic, and I was like, man, he's Chuck Jones. Why he never went into syndication? But now that I think of it, I never went into newspaper syndication. I was syndicated online, but I never got into newspapers.
Yeah, well, you came over from Comic Sherpa. I was actually, right when they were closing it down, I was getting ready to post something on Comic Sherpa. But I have friends who still post. It's still kind of around in the background. It hasn't reconnected with what is it, UClick, I think it was.
UClick,
but you know, that's how I found a lot of great comics. I would read Comic Sherpa. I'd go to the site, read Comic Sherpa before anything. So coming over from Comic Sherpa to the website was, I think, the only move. I think you had to, if I remember correctly, they would see how you do online before they try to syndicate you somewhere else. But
Yeah,
you didn't have to pay for Sherpa anymore. You were on the main page. It was...
It's something, you know, and it was nice, you know, it was nice to be syndicating online and being, you know, site to site on Garfield or something like that. But there was this little thing that I could never get into newspaper, and I got like 3 meetings with syndication agents from Go Comics, from Universal.
Yeah,
and everything was very close. The closest I was when they were the guy who was drawing Modesty Blaze, he was retiring.
okay.
So they call me and say, hey, they need a comic strip with a strong female lead that could occupy that space.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, okay, well, let's do it. Well, and then came, okay, but then Jenny cannot have chores. Jenny cannot show cleavage. Jenny cannot, you know, just try to don't mention Puerto Rico a lot. And that was a long list, and I was willing to fix a lot of that stuff, but at the end it was like, you know, it was going to be another thing.
Yeah.
So when they presented the idea, they simply, but they didn't want to do it. So they say, yeah, just stay online, and
it's also a little difficult with, you know, like when I look at comics in the newspaper strips, I see a lot of times it's very flat images, you know, simple coloring, simple, lines and whatever. Your style is very animated. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot, like Mike was saying, you get that movement in there. You understand flow. You understand everything incredibly well. That I don't know if it would have fit in with the other comics on the page. It would have really stood out, which would have been great.
Oh, that's good.
Because it's not flat, but I think I would love to see things like that a little more popping up in whether it's online in feeds and stuff when people do comics. And I'm this way too. Unless I'm animating, I'm drawing kind of flat with my comic characters, you know?
Yeah. But it happens. I had a friend who worked on comic strips, and he once told me, is that everything that you do, if you get into newspaper, try not to make people laugh. Just make them smile.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why? But, because people like that. Some people get offended and they just want to...
Yeah, that's the thing. And when you were mentioning your list that you would have to, I understood if you're going out to a broader audience, now it's, kids, elderly couples, middle-aged people, it's everybody looking at it. So, you don't want to offend people and, Yeah,
that's true. And I know I was very edgy, and I still are, on my comic strip, so I'm very aware of it. But time has changed a lot ever since. And, there's a lot of audience right now that you had to please that you never know. So
yeah, exactly.
You have to be mindful of these different things. But again, like you said, that edginess and that look, like that's what makes you stand out different than the other folks that are out there.
Oh, thank you.
And that's what draws. What I feel draws people to your style. Like I know last year you were at it was roughly a little bit about a year ago. What was that? MegaCon was this time here, and I had meant to meet up with you because I was down there covering some stuff for our Increditainment thing. I was busy with that, and I know we had touched base on. I regret that not being able to come over to your table, but again, I told Grazia Dave Alverez is going to be there, and he's like, "Oh, he's definitely somebody that he would have liked to meet," and then here we are now. So that's why, again, like you have that following, yeah. So now let's move on from comics, and I know Noel is with us and stuff. Let's talk a little bit about puppetry, and I know you got that guy behind there. Tell us a little bit about him and. What is your experience with puppetry? What brings you from the page to puppet now, essentially? Because that's what you're working with.
Well, puppetry has been the second love of my life. You know, I've been in love with animation and comics, and puppetry is like the, you know, I wouldn't say the second, but it's like in the same line. And just like everyone else, so I grew up with the Muppets. I grew up with Jim Henson's work, and I took my little time to understand what Jim was trying to do, and I liked how simple his style was, and yet how powerful the message was. And I was like, I was hooked up on Sesame Street. I was hooked up on Fraggle Rock. I was hooked up on everything, the Muppet Show, and everything that was happening. So I was, at some point I said, I want to be a Muppeteer. But, and then I want to do puppets. And on the other side I was, but I draw and I do puppets. I draw and I do puppets. Maybe I'll do both things. So, but yeah, that's a big influence in my life. I've done a lot of stuff in puppets too.
Yeah, I just want to say here, Noel put a smiley face. He says, "I swear, Dave, I will be posting your video for the Show Me Show." So,
hey, yay, Noel, that's my guy.
From our buddy and past guest, Noel McNeil, and check, and we'll give him a little plug because Dave has some stuff coming on there. Visit the Show Me Show. And Noel, if you want to throw the link and stuff up in the chat, I'll throw that up on the board too here, which is cool. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about this guy behind you. I'm curious about him because I know I've seen the art.
This guy is called Monkey J. Let me pull it up. And let me not tangle into the microphone. Oh yeah, guys, how you doing? Oh, hey, you're Mike and you're Mike too.
Yes, we are.
Oh, that's good. That's good. 2 mics.
Yep.
And I'm talking to a third mic. Yeah. There you go. Well, this is Monkey J, and back in the day when I wasn't barely on college and something like that, I used to work on Telemundo, Channel 2 in Puerto Rico.
Gotcha.
And there was a show that's called the 12 o'clock show, and I presented my puppets there with a friend called Reynaldo Leon. And I performed Monkey J because I created this guy. And, you know, we went around for a while, for a few years. Eventually he got a show called Radio Monstro. And things happened, you know, the show ended. And recently we've been doing a show called Monkey TV on the internet, in which we bring back these characters that nobody knows, just themselves. So they're trying to put on a show on the internet and trying to make people remember them. That's going very good, you know. Yeah, so good that nobody knows who the heck we are.
Now, the designing of this, so you were telling us a little bit beforehand we got on there. So you ordered this puppet. From a gentleman in the Philippines, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, again, this looks right off the page. What was the design process like for him? Like, obviously, I'm sure you drew him out first, but again, if this guy caught the light, like, this is your style of artwork in 3D here.
Yeah, I drew him because I wanted to, you know, bring alive like the Disney monkey style. You know, they have this big snouts and they have this, you know, the eyebrows are like that. I always like the kind of, I don't know if you've seen them. There's a lot in the comic, the Disney monkeys.
Kind of like even like King Louie from Jungle Book.
Yeah, something from Jungle Book or something from War Kimball or something like that. So I wanted to give him that style, and I drew him, and I wanted to. I myself, I built puppets, but I barely had the time to do both things. So I met Diego Francia, and he was very kind enough to bring Monkey to life. I sent him a design, and I said, "Hey, can you do this?" And he was like, "Sure." When he sent me the first picture, I was like, "Man, you created." Oh, there's the link.
Yeah, well, this is the link. Noel just put that up there for everybody. Sorry, I was gonna announce that in a second, but this is the link, guys. Check it out. It's in the chat too. This is for the Show Me Show, and I'll find the other link for the Show Me Show too.
Yeah, there's the Show Me Show, Noel. Hey, Noel, you're plugging yourself in. There you are. So yeah, that's just basically. Now we're doing Monkey TV. I'm with a good set of puppeteers here in Puerto Rico.
Nice.
That's a good crew, Santin Vasquez and Luis Villafañe. And we're creating a lot of stuff, Alex. And I hope everybody loves what we come up at the end. There's a few videos that we already upload on YouTube. So, yeah.
And what's the YouTube link that we could see it in?
I think it's Dave Alverez Studios. You can
Studios.
look it up.
Well,
Yeah,
no, this put up there. No, and because I can't click on that link from where I am. Was that the Monkey TV link that you sent, or is that Show Me Show?
no, I think that's a show.
Monkey TV. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna try and follow that link now.
You got it there, Noel?
No, again, no. Here we go. Oh, there we go. There it is.
Ah, yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Once again, thank you, Noel McNeil. Both. Oh, so the other video too that was up here earlier, folks. That was also for Monkey TV too. So sorry, yeah. Both so,
there we are.
Monkey TV. So
Thank you, Noel, man.
So tell us also the other great thing that I'm seeing now too. I mean, you are truly a man of many talents.
Oh, thank you.
And the other talent I really have some questions about now too. Has to do with some of the stuff behind you, because I've been seeing your work in progress on Facebook.
That's a lot of mess over there. What are you looking at?
Well, you got quite a video there. But again, I'm in my dining room, but Grazia, as an artist, he's got all of his stuff behind him. So this is the normal thing for an artist. But the question I wanted to ask, I see some of the Ghostbusters there.
Oh yeah, that's I'm a Ghostbuster fan, as you can see. Very serious one. I have everything from the proton pack and figures and the Ecto One.
I mean, Grazi, if you go onto Facebook, while we're chatting here, if you can pull up on the stream, the Dave.
Pick it up, man. Pick it up.
Hold on, let me go to the other
Facebook feed. There's, as you said, you're a big Ghostbusters fan. There's another labor of love you've been working on lately.
Oh yeah, thanks to the quarantine.
You can pull that up then too.
Thanks to the quarantine, yeah, I'm working on a replica of the Ecto One. It has been taking a while, but it's working.
Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt. Mike, do you want me to go on the Facebook feed of
go to Dave's Facebook page and let's pull up some pictures of this Ecto that he's been building.
All right, let's hold on. Let me remove this screen. I'll share the other one. Okay.
So let me ask this question, Dave. How do you rebuild Ecto One? How do you do that? I want one.
I want one. I always wanted to do one. I always wanted to build an Ecto One, and I went after that model from a guy in a little town in Puerto Rico, and he didn't want to sell it. I've been after that Cadillac, I think, for almost 9 years. Wow! And one day I decided to call. Just out of the heck of it, and are you still selling that Cadillac? And he was like, "What? The ambulance? Yeah, come on, man, pick it up. I don't want it anymore. Just make me an offer." And I made it an offer, and I picked it up. It was so rusty. It was so it needed a lot of work. So, but I tried to rebuild it as much as I could. A friend of mine who works the exterior, he bring the Cadillac to life, and right now we're working on the motor and stuff like that. So hopefully it will move soon.
Yeah, we're trying to find a good.
I'm trying to find which one is it.
Actually, that's not the one that you have up there. Isn't the one that he has right now?
No, that was the previous one. No, I used to have a 78 Cadillac, but that's not the one.
So this is not it here then.
No, there's another one.
I just clicked on all photos here.
There's another Facebook page for it. It's actually facebook.com/Ecto1PR.
Ecto1PR.
Yep.
Let's see if I can pull that up.
I made a page for everything. So
no, but listen, you know what? That's building your brand.
Yeah. All right. I'm on the page, so you can bring it up. We can scroll through it here.
Look at something. I mean, again, amazing work that you're doing here. I mean, like.
Thank you. There it is. That's the one.
Wow.
Hopefully it will move soon. So,
But I mean, like
so far, that's the closest that I have.
So, but what do your neighbors think when they look outside and see that in your?
Oh, they just don't look at me.
They're like, what is going on over there? I mean,
They will think the worst out of me, but they just don't look at me. They're like, oh, right, that's the guy with the crazy car.
well, I mean, but listen, the new movie was supposed to be coming out this summer, and obviously that was pushed back because of everything that's going on in the world. But certainly, I mean, hey, I don't think the Ghostbusters has ever gone away. I mean, it's from all of our childhood, but what's old is new again, essentially.
Yeah, what's always new. That's what they say.
My 6-year-old knows about the Ghostbusters. He's 7, I should say. He knows about the Ghostbusters. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been a fan for a while. So there's a group in Puerto Rico called the Puerto Rico Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I think a lot of areas have their own
their own division,
which is pretty cool. So other classic shows that you're working on. You said you worked on some of the Tom and Jerry films too. Which ones did you work on? I'm going to say Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka. Yes.
Willy Wonka, yeah. Willy Wonka was the latest that I did, and it was very good because it was animated on paper.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was animated on paper, and people might not think about it, but there's a lot of physical work in that movie because the director Spike Brandt, he loves working on the old style. So when he approached us, the first thing he asked me was, "Do you animate?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure." So we're gonna send you some reference, and so you can start animating with us. So he sends me a package, and the package, big, of paper. And I was like, "Oh, he wants me to draw on paper." Okay, he wants to animate on paper. So there's a lot of scenes that I animated and laid it out. So, but it was great. It was a great learning experience.
Now let me ask you: when you're saying you drew that on paper, so that one was more done in the traditional manner of animation. Then, like, did they do cells, or they just scanned all that stuff into the computer, the paper drawings?
I think they scanned the paper drawings, and then eventually they do digital linking and stuff. But the core of the drawing is done in paper.
Let me ask you: were there any particular characters? Because I mean, that movie and the Wizard of Oz, and the Tom and Jerry Meet Wizard of Oz, and then Tom and Jerry Meet Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Those two films in particular stood out to me, and I know that there were a lot of people who were not happy with those films because there were people who were like, "Well, Warner Brothers is just doing a cash grab, and this is word for word Willy Wonka." And it absolutely is. Like, I was going to ask you, were there any key characters that you specifically worked on for Willy Wonka?
Well, I worked on Charlie, Tom and Jerry, Willy. I did work on a lot of those characters. I heard and I seen the rejection of people because they thought it's going to be whoa, this thunderstorm began.
Oh, they might have been, like,
you were flashing there, so I thought you were.
Oh, I don't know.
That's possible.
I thought you were gone. But what do you think about the movie? Is it's very good, and if you have seen lately what Tom and Jerry was doing, they were already doing that. There was the Wizard of Oz. There was so I think it's the internet does what they want to do. And they do what they want to do. So they took Charlie, they took Willy Wonka movie and they bashed it down because they just wanted to do that, not because of a particular agenda. Because they when you see everything they were doing back, they were doing all these kind of movies that had classic characters on them. They just, when I was calling to the movie, I said, what we do with Tom and Jerry, we think about the classic movie, the original movie, and we put Tom and Jerry in it. That's the fun of it. That's the fun of writing it. It's like these two characters are breaking into this movie. Yeah. So it was artistic in that kind of way. So like I said, the internet is cruel. So
Yeah, well, I mean, like, and on that note, and I think because they had made a series of Tom and Jerry movies. Like there's like The Last Dragon. They did Tom and Jerry with Jack and the Beanstalk. They're different. They did a Johnny Quest one. But like I think what really, like you said, people took notice to were The Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka, which are these two beloved movies. But you said the fun of it really is putting these characters, Tom and Jerry, who are also beloved characters, into that situation. And I think in both of those movies, like, I don't know if you saw them, Grazia, but in both of those movies, the story's nice. I think the animation in both of them, like, my gosh, and listen, people talk about what they want to talk about with the direct-to-home video market. Like in those Tom and Jerry flicks, though, and even like the Back to Oz that they did, like those were the last three that they did. Like, that's all, to me, at least watching it as a fan, like, almost looks theatrical to me. Like, there was really a nice style to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking about the Willy Wonka one in particular, and there was such a negative backlash, and that was what, how many years ago? Probably 3 or 4 years ago that came.
3 or 4 years ago, I think.
And that was the last one they did. I know there's a theatrical Tom and Jerry flick coming out, but I'm wondering if because they had the negative feedback on Willy Wonka that they just were like, you know what, we're not going to do any more Tom and Jerry movies.
Actually, I don't know. It might have to do a little bit of that, but I haven't heard anything about. I think they're working on another one, direct-to-DVD movie. I was calling to it, but I couldn't make it because it was an in-house project.
Gotcha.
But when one of the things was that when they called me for this movie for the Willy Wonka, I like how Spike and everybody talk about it because they are very aware that these are characters created for shorts. They were not created to sustain a whole movie. So they're there, the company says we want to do something with this franchise and we want to move them on video. So you're like, what the heck are we going to do? So when they work on each project, like for example, The Wizard of Oz, they get inside this world so perfectly, that you get to study every character, every movement. In Willy Wonka was like that. He told me, you have the first assignment is go ahead and watch Willy Wonka again and start taking notes because we want the characters to move exactly like they did in the movie.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we want these actions to happen exactly like they did in the movie because we're making an animated version of that. We are making a Willy Wonka movie. We're not making a Tom and Jerry movie. Tom and Jerry is just going to be there. So because we need to put it them. So that's basically how it worked. And when you see it that way, you can see the movie with other eyes and appreciate it in the very artistic way.
Yeah, because I was going to say, and that you talked about that a little bit. Certainly watching the Willy Wonka one, and my son, again, he likes that movie too. I mean, aside from it being a Tom and Jerry movie, it really is a tribute. And same thing for Wizard of Oz too. We'll say that too. Both of those movies are tributes to the original ones. I mean, and you can go on like YouTube and stuff. I'm sure you've seen them. Like there are side-to-side comparisons for some of the scenes in the movie, like when Charlie's singing "Golden Ticket" with his grandfather. Like they really modeled it like dance move to dance move. Again, throwing the little comedy of like Tom and Jerry slamming each other and this, but that whole like you see the feet going behind them. And I mean, they even went as deep as like the voice actors in that film. Those people were not in the original movie, but I mean, it sounds like Gene Wilder. It sounds like Jack Alverez, and like these people. Like my son was watching it with my parents last year, and my parents were like, my father particularly, he's like, was that Gene Wilder or was this made after Gene Wilder passed? Because I don't know who the actor is offhand. But who did the voice sounded so much like that. And like you said, they just took that movie. You guys took that movie and updated and threw these other two funny characters into it.
Gene Wilder already passed away when we were in the movie. And the state of Gene Wilder didn't want us to use his likeness at first.
Gotcha.
And so there are two different designs when you see everything that, or the original designs of the movie, and then during the way they see what they were trying to do, and they gave permission to use Gene Wilder's likeness. So we go back and then use the Gene Wilder design on the Willy Wonka movie. It was really good in that it was a great learning experience, and I cherish every minute of it.
Yeah. Now, it actually brings up a good thing. So for the rest of them too, I mean, obviously Jack Albertson passed away too, and like the kids are all. I know the one young woman, the girl who played I can't think the Blueberry girl. She passed away last year, but she was alive when they made this film. So you had to check with all of them going into that process. What was that process like, even with the likenesses of like the kids and going back and forth?
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful. I wish I could show them to you, but I can't.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of beautiful artwork and for pre-production of the movie, from the backgrounds, from the characters and how they were sketched out. It's simply amazing, and they start very rough, making the character look a lot like the original character, original actor, and they eventually try to cartoonize it on the way. Until they get the final design. So, but I wish, I know, maybe someday there will be a book from the Tom and Jerry movies artwork. You'll be amazed at the amount of amazing work that goes behind those movies.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of people, and it goes without saying, just and also for like these animated films, for those movies run like an hour and 15 minutes, and probably the amount of time that you spend and all the other artists spend, like you said, creating this artwork. Like, people are just judgmental about what they're seeing and what they're not happy with it, but not knowing like really the labor of love and all the hard work that does go behind, and that's.
Yeah, it's cruel when they go, they're cashing out on the characters and stuff like that. You never know. I learned not to criticize anything, because there's always so many good people working on them that simply you can backslash them, you can just trash talk behind them, because they're doing wonderful work. From the most simple thing that you can see when you go back and see everything that they were. Pre-production art or pre-production work. There's a lot of work on everything. So I never trash talk nothing. It's just go. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, and certainly the one thing, and this goes with the Looney Tunes. This goes with, like again, Tom and Jerry. Any of these properties that you work on. I mean, it's a labor of love for all of you that are involved. But certainly, like again. The people who are pretty much complaining about this kind of stuff are people like our age, the ones who,
It's true. It's true.
My 7-year-old son, he'll watch the regular Willy Wonka and the regular Wizard of Oz, and then he'll watch the Tom and Jerry one of those. And you know what? And again, this is not just an animation. This is all properties. It's really subjective to who your audience is. To a kid, it's. We sit here and we were talking about puppetry and stuff, and I mean, Sesame Street has been on for 50 years.
50 years, yeah.
And Big Bird, and I don't want to say Elmo, because Elmo hasn't been on in 50 years. But you look at characters like Big Bird, who's been around for 50 years. The Big Bird that we knew when we were growing up is. There still, but Big Bird has evolved, and Big Bird evolved. Big Bird from season 1 to season 2 has evolved, and I know Noel was with us, and we talked about just the evolution of characters before too. But and it goes with any property, Star Wars, like who is it being made for?
It's true. It's true, because if you want them to survive, for example, us. We saw Sesame Street on the very beginning, and we were very fans of them in the 80s or something like that. And we sit down to watch one of the episodes today, and we're like, "Oh, there's a lot of colors there. Oh my God, they're jumping! What's going on with Ernie?" And we start criticizing, because it's not made for us; it's made for our kids. So that's the beauty of evolution. But when you think about it, they're doing the best to keep the characters alive.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And move on with time. That's why they already have 50 years on.
Yeah, and I mean, how many years have Looney Tunes been around?
Wow, almost.
Crosby,
I think it was only turning 80.
Yeah, they're going to like 90 years, right?
wow.
Yeah, 90 to 100 if you count Bosco. But I think Bugs Bunny is going to turn 80. I think it's this month or the next one. Yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, and Bugs Bunny will be gone long after Bugs Bunny will be around long after we are gone.
After we are gone, yeah. So there's no use in complaining.
Yeah, and he will continue to evolve. They will continue the people, and you know what? Like, there's Chuck. People are gonna look at how you portrayed Bugs. They're gonna look at how the guy after you portrayed. Everybody will create and add to that character voice wise too. I mean, like
there'll be 1,000 Bugs Bunnies. There'll be 1,000 Kermit the Frogs. There'll be 1,000 every character that you can see, and we will pass away, and the characters will go on. So
yeah, but that's the beauty of it, and we can show our kids the stuff that we knew from our childhood stuff, and again in the case of. For some people, in the case of Sesame Street, but definitely in the case of like the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry, we can show stuff that their grandparents and great grandparents even were watching. Which is,
exactly, yeah, that's true.
That heart is there. I mean, like I'm just thinking about like the Looney Tunes, 80 years old, Bugs Bunny, 80 years old. Like, I mean, my grandparents and probably their parents saw some of those too in the theater. So it's interesting. So I know you do have to get running very soon. Yeah. It's almost been an hour. But if anybody has any quick questions that they want to throw out there to Dave, please feel free to do that. And Dave, certainly tell us or tell people where they can find you or.
Oh, sure. You can look for my stuff on my webpage. That's www.dascomics.com. dascomics.com. There's a lot of links there, so it will lead you to my Instagram page, Facebook page, and everything else. Facebook, I'm on Dave Alverez Studio. So, and I think in Twitter too, I'm on Dave Alverez Studio as well. So, every time you search for Dave Alverez Studio, I'll be there. So, but again, www.dascomics.com. That's the one.
Yeah, on the screen, yeah. Cool. And are there any projects that you can talk about that you are currently working on or coming up that people will be able to see, whether it be in print form, whether it be television, movies, puppetry? What else coming up?
Aside of the Monkey TV stuff that we're working on already, I hope that we have something more final soon. And Yenny, that still goes on. You can find Yenny on dascomic.com. And in animation world, I'm working on some particular characters right now that I can say anything about them yet because I'm under a heavy NDA. But once they come out, I think everyone will be happy. But yeah, there's a lot of surprises going on. This quarantine has been full of surprises, believe me.
Well, I mean, and certainly that goes without saying. I think for a lot of artists and stuff. And I was reading an article in regards to like this whole thing with Trolls and Scoob coming out. Animation and cartoonists and animation, like that has been going very strong because people are able to work from home in regards to that. You don't need to have a studio, like a film studio setup to make an animation movie. You just need to be at your computer and creating.
By the way, we will be launching soon a video game called Shanghai based on a character that I created a while ago along with my good friend David Martinez, and there's the great people from 8-Bit Boss Studios are developing a game, so it will be an app based on that character. So I might send you a link later, but again, it's in Facebook/Shanghai. That's CHANGUY.
Yeah. I'd actually like to have you back on at some point to talk about that and your chicken duck.
Chicken duck.
Because I know you got to leave soon, and that was actually something I really wanted to ask you about because I followed your posts on those characters. Those really stand out in my feed when you post about them. So I'm excited to hear about that. So we'll definitely have you back on it in the future, and I'd love to talk and maybe focus on that aspect of what you're doing there.
Sure thing. I'd love to be back, of course.
And I just want to throw out Victor Romero, who's another one of our big fans now too. He just wanted to say, and I'm going to actually put this up here so you can see it. Your Muppet skits are cute. I hope you keep doing them. And for those who don't know, Dave, now you built your hermit, right?
Yeah, actually, here it is. Let me show him to you.
Give him the screen, Mike.
I'm
Mike.
I am.
Give him the screen.
Let me see if I can.
Maybe I take the words down.
Oh, sorry.
Is that why? I don't know why this.
Where's the camera? Oh, here we are. Oh, how are you guys doing? How are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm doing good. I don't know about Mike right now.
I'm trying.
Are you quiet?
Maybe that's me.
That's you.
We're looking at Mike right now. Oh, there you are. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that you like my skits. You know, and actually, I don't work with the Muppets. I would love to, but I don't work with the Muppets at all. So I don't know why. I think because I'm more of a cartoonist. So that's what this guy says. So, yeah. Why are you so quiet all of a sudden?
Well, we were watching you, but no, you certainly have made some really great videos.
Yeah, thank you.
This, you know, and I don't want to do that either. What am I doing? So, I'm horrible.
What are you doing? What's all this about?
I'm a tech guy.
Do you actually know how to deal with that thing?
No.
No.
Would like to know. Noel.
I know.
I know it's like a tongue twister there. Our buddy Noel would like to know if you can sing part of the Rainbow Connection in Spanish.
Yeah. What?
In Espanol.
Oh, the Rainbow Connection?
In Spanish.
I have no idea how it goes in Spanish. Oh, let me see. Algún día vemos el gran arco iris, la gente, ustedes y yo.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
That was in Spanish. I don't know. Did you understand what I said?
I mean, bravo, Noel says. Bravo.
I was swearing all the time. No, that's a lie. I wasn't swearing. Bravo says no. Well, thank you, Noel. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So
I might be leaving, so this guy can talk. Oh, what?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh no, that's okay.
Okay.
You just hit them.
But yeah, no, this was great tonight, Dave. And I know, like we said, we know you have to run and go take care of a couple of things. But it was a pleasure to have you here. It was a pleasure to speak with you tonight. And like Razia said, definitely we'll have you back again. And we'll be sharing out your stuff. And again, check out dascomics.com. And you'll see everything that Dave has, and he has a store there, so you can get commissions and all that good stuff from him. So definitely check that out. And then just a quick plug for tomorrow night, we have another exciting IncrediChat, and I'm going to be actually putting the artwork up for that tonight. And I don't know if Grazi is going to be joining me. I'll be with Chris Stultz tomorrow from the Muppet Stuff blog, and we're going to be looking at memorabilia and talking about the Dark Crystal with special guest stars Cassine Gaines, who co-wrote the Dark Crystal visual history with Cheryl Henson, and we're gonna have Tim Clark, who is a puppet builder. I don't know if you've met him before, but you should tie into him too, Dave. Yeah. Tim Clark, who's a puppet builder, he worked on a lot of the puppet designs and building of the characters in Dark Crystal. So that'll be tomorrow night, 8:30.
That's great.
So yeah, so check that out. So again, thank you for tuning in to IncrediChat, everybody, and we will see you all tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Muppet Show. Bye.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.